Today we're exploring a story that's both heartbreaking and absolutely brutal. What happens when a 5-year Formula One veteran watches a rookie achieve his dream in just 15 races? We're talking about Yuki Tsunoda, a driver who spent 5 seasons chasing his first podium, only to watch 20-year-old Isack Hadjar step onto that very same podium at Zandvoort a week ago. It's a tale that cuts to the heart of Formula One's unforgiving nature, talent, timing, and the cruel mathematics of opportunity. So here's the million-dollar question. What will Yuki Tsunoda do in 2026? Will he finally get that elusive first podium, or will he become a cautionary tale of what happens when the sport moves on without you? It's a question that encapsulates everything fascinating about Formula One's driver market, the politics of engine partnerships, and the ruthless nature of Red Bull's decision-making. Tsunoda finds himself at the most critical crossroads of his career, with his future potentially tied to seismic changes coming to the sport. To understand Tsunoda's 2026 situation, we need to start with where he is right now in 2025. Yuki Tsunoda has revealed what he believes he needs to achieve over the remaining 9 races this year in order to keep his Red Bull seat for the 2026 season. The Japanese driver has endured a difficult 2025 campaign so far after being moved into the senior Red Bull team from Racing Bulls after just 2 races, swapping places with Liam Lawson. This mid-season promotion was supposed to be Tsunoda's long-awaited breakthrough moment. After 4 seasons grinding away at the junior team, he finally got his shot alongside Max Verstappen. But the reality has been harsh. Since then, teammate and reigning 4-time world champion Max Verstappen has taken 2 wins and 5 podiums. Max is sitting 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, while Tsunoda has struggled to find consistency and only managed to score 9 points. The statistics paint a sad picture. He has scored only 9 points in 13 races since joining Red Bull and entered the summer break on a 7-race streak without points. This performance gap with Verstappen has led to brutal assessments. Tsunoda is in the final year of his Red Bull contract, but Red Bull have never shied away from making a change to their driver lineup mid-season if required. However, recent reports suggest he's been given some breathing room. But I think the breathing room will come to an end by the end of the season. Now here's where Tsunoda's story becomes fascinating and uniquely complex. His career has been intertwined with Honda since his junior days, and Honda's movements in Formula One could be the key in or out for his future. Yuki Tsunoda has been reflecting on what his future in Formula One could look like as Honda, who have supported the Japanese driver from an early stage in his motorsport career. This relationship runs deep. The 24-year-old graduated from the Honda Racing School in 2016 and has since received the support of the company on his journey to Formula One. But now Honda is preparing to move away from the Red Bull family to partner with Aston Martin from 2026 onwards. Honda has made their intentions clear regarding Tsunoda. Honda CEO recently said that the engine manufacturer hoped to keep an eye on Tsunoda, even when they split from Red Bull to link up with Aston Martin. But here is the problem. Aston Martin's driver lineup for 2026 looks solid. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll are both contracted through 2026, making no seat at Aston Martin available. This creates a peculiar situation where Tsunoda's biggest supporter in Formula One is moving to a team where there simply isn't room for him. So where does this leave Tsunoda at Red Bull? The reality is stark. There's no path back to Racing Bulls for him. Red Bull doesn't operate that way. Tsunoda will either stay at Red Bull Racing or leave Formula One entirely to find a seat elsewhere. The question now is what Tsunoda needs to do to secure his future at Red Bull Racing, with Helmut Marko clearly stating he expects consistency and performance speed-wise from Tsunoda, and with the decision timeline set for around October, the Japanese driver faces an uphill battle. A single podium likely won't be enough, especially when Marko seems attracted to Hadjar, calling him different and suggesting he could handle the pressure alongside Verstappen. Hadjar's recent podium at Zandvoort and his 37 points compared to Tsunoda's 9 have only strengthened the French-Algerian's position as the front-runner. For Tsunoda to stay, he'd likely need multiple podiums, perhaps 2 or 3, and consistent point-scoring finishes to change Marko's mind. Anything less, and he'll be looking for opportunities elsewhere, potentially in IndyCar or other racing series, as Red Bull has shown repeatedly they don't hesitate to move on from underperforming drivers. The pressure from Red Bull's advisor Helmut Marko remains relentless, with the Mexican Grand Prix in October serving as a crucial evaluation point. This deadline-driven approach continues to be classic Red Bull DNA: perform or be replaced. So, what are Tsunoda's realistic options for 2026? Let's break down the most likely scenarios based on current information. Scenario 1. Staying at Red Bull if and only if Tsunoda suddenly becomes a consistent podium scoring machine, delivering the consistency and performance speed-wise that Marko demands. However, looking at his track record and current struggles, this seems highly unlikely. Despite flashes of speed, Tsunoda has never shown the sustained excellence needed to secure his Red Bull future. With Marko's clear preference for the French-Algerian driver, this scenario requires a level of performance consistency that Tsunoda simply hasn't demonstrated in his F1 career. Scenario 2. The demotion and the hunt for an F1 seat. The more realistic scenario sees Red Bull replacing Tsunoda, forcing him to scramble for a seat elsewhere on the grid. With most teams already set with their driver lineups for 2026, available seats are extremely limited. The only place he could land will be for Alpine. As we all know, Toto will extend Russell and Antonelli for the 2026 season. Scenario 3. Category change. If F1 doors close, Tsunoda could follow the path of other ex-F1 drivers and switch to IndyCar or other major racing series. His speed and racecraft could translate well to American open-wheel racing, where several former F1 drivers have found success. This would allow him to continue his racing career at a high level, even if it means accepting that his F1 dream is over. Scenario 4. Tsunoda has previously mentioned his interest in opening a sushi restaurant. That would be the perfect time. If the racing opportunities dry up or become unappealing, he could step away from motorsport entirely to pursue this culinary passion. After years of high-pressure F1 racing, the idea of creating something entirely his own might be more appealing than struggling for mediocre grid positions. The harsh reality is that scenarios 2, 3, or 4 seem far more likely than scenario 1, given both the competitive landscape and Tsunoda's performance trajectory. Tsunoda's story isn't just about one driver's career. It reflects broader themes in modern Formula One. The influence of engine manufacturers on driver careers, the challenges facing drivers from smaller markets, and the brutal nature of performance-based careers in the pinnacle of motorsport. Honda's support for Tsunoda represents something increasingly rare in Formula One: genuine manufacturer loyalty to a driver from their home country. The challenge is that manufacturer support doesn't guarantee seats. Honda's relationship with Tsunoda shows how complex the business realities of Formula One is. Even with Honda's backing, he needs a team willing to give him a seat, and those opportunities are increasingly low. Central to all these scenarios is the fundamental question: has Tsunoda done enough to deserve a seat in 2026? The answer depends on who you ask and how you frame the question. His struggles at Red Bull are undeniable. The car that Verstappen has used to win races has returned a minimal points for Tsunoda. But context matters. But if you think about how complex a car this is to deal with, he's playing ridiculous catch-up already by coming in a few races in, but then the complexity of this car to get the grips with without having properly tested it. The Red Bull RB25 is notoriously difficult to drive, with a narrow operating window that even Max Verstappen have struggled with. Tsunoda was thrown into this environment mid-season without proper preparation time. There's also the question of equipment parity. Reports suggest that internal politics may have affected Tsunoda's chances. Sources suggest it was Laurent Mekies who pushed for the driver to receive the same spec car as the reigning champion, signing off on the new floor at Spa-Francorchamps, a part that, under Christian Horner, might have remained as Verstappen's spare. So, what will Yuki Tsunoda do in 2026? Based on all available evidence, the reality is harsh. He'll either pull off a miraculous turnaround to keep his Red Bull seat, or be forced to look elsewhere entirely. With Helmut Marko's October deadline approaching and his clear preference for Hadjar, Tsunoda faces an almost impossible task. The scenario where Tsunoda becomes a consistent podium contender overnight seems unrealistic, given his track record. A single podium won't be enough. He'd need multiple podiums and sustained point scoring to change Marco's mind, something he's never demonstrated in 5 seasons. The old scenario of returning to racing bulls simply doesn't exist. Red Bull doesn't operate that way. It's either stay at the top level or leave the organization entirely. What do you think will happen to Tsunoda? Can he pull off the miracle turnaround, or is his F1 career really coming to an end? Drop your predictions in the comments below. Will he stay at Red Bull, move to Alpine, jump to IndyCar, or finally open that sushi restaurant? And if you found this analysis helpful, smash that like button and subscribe for more F1 deep dives. We're covering every twist and turn of the 2026 silly season, so hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates on Tsunoda's fate and the rest of the driver market chaos.